the quiet war in your mind. Have you ever felt like something inside you is being drained? Your focus, your drive, your creative fire? Like your potential is right there, just beneath the surface, but something invisible is holding it back? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Carl Jung once made a profound statement: desexualize your mind and your life will change rapidly. At first glance, this might sound strange. Why would removing sexual thoughts from your mind lead to transformation? Isn't sexuality natural, even essential? But what Jung was pointing to isn't about repression. It's about mastery. This video will take you through the hidden power of reclaiming your mental clarity by understanding how sexual energy, when left unchecked, subtly hijacks your life, and how redirecting that energy can elevate you faster than almost anything else. Stay with me. By the end, you'll see your mind, your habits, and your future with fresh eyes. 1. What Jung really meant: beyond repression. Carl Jung wasn't puritanical. In fact, he believed in embracing the full spectrum of the psyche, including our shadow, which often contains our most primal instincts. But he also warned us that when the mind is overly consumed by sexual imagery, fantasy, or addiction, it becomes trapped in a loop of craving. This craving isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional, even spiritual. What Jung meant by desexualize your mind wasn't to reject sexuality, but to reclaim your mental autonomy. To take your attention, one of the most powerful currencies you have, and direct it toward growth, not just gratification. When your thoughts are ruled by lust, you're not thinking clearly. You're reacting, not creating. You're pursuing impulse, not purpose. Desexualizing the mind means lifting your awareness above the primal level, not ignoring your instincts, but integrating them into a balanced self. Jung saw the mind as a layered architecture. If you're stuck in the basement, you'll never see the view from the rooftop. And that view? That's clarity, ambition, fulfillment. 2. The hijacking of sexual energy in the modern world. Today, we live in a world that profits from your distraction, especially sexual distraction. It's not just adult content. It's advertising, social media, music videos, reality TV, even casual conversations. Lust is used as bait, constantly. You might think you're immune, but your subconscious is absorbing more than you realize. Every time you scroll and see suggestive content, your brain gets a dopamine hit. Over time, this wires your reward system to seek more stimulation and less satisfaction. You lose the ability to focus deeply, to sit with your own thoughts, to be present. Your drive becomes fractured, your goals lose urgency, and worst of all, you feel empty, even after chasing every desire. When your mind is soaked in constant sexual imagery, it's like trying to meditate in a nightclub. You can't hear your own thoughts. Desexualizing your mind is like stepping outside into silence. Suddenly, your inner voice becomes louder than the noise. And that voice? That's your genius. That's your higher self calling. 3. Philosophical foundations. Wisdom from the ancients. Long before Jung, ancient philosophies warned of unchecked desire. The Stoics, for example, believed that mastering one's passions was the key to inner peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Sound familiar? In Eastern philosophy, especially Taoism and Hinduism, sexual energy is revered, but not wasted. In Taoist alchemy, it's called Jing, the life essence. It's believed that by conserving and circulating this energy, one can strengthen their spirit, sharpen their mind, and even extend life. The Hindu concept of Kundalini describes sexual energy as a serpent coiled at the base of the spine, dormant until awakened and directed upwards. Jung, deeply influenced by Eastern thought, understood that sex wasn't the enemy. Unconscious indulgence was. The mind that is ruled by craving becomes a servant to the lower self. But the mind that reclaims that energy, it becomes a weapon, a sacred force that reshapes reality. 4. Transmutation, the alchemy of desire. This is the secret sauce, transmutation. It's the process of taking raw, sexual energy and converting it into creativity, ambition, focus, and spiritual power. The same energy that drives lust can drive genius, if you know how to redirect it. Think about Nikola Tesla, who famously abstained from sex to preserve his creativity. Or Steve Jobs, who practiced Eastern mindfulness and spoke often about sexual restraint and discipline. Even Leonardo da Vinci channeled his libido into relentless innovation. These weren't just weird habits. These men understood the hidden alchemy of focus. Transmutation is about noticing when desire arises, and choosing not to act impulsively. Instead, you channel it. You write, you build, you train, you reflect. Every time you do this, you reinforce neural pathways that support discipline and creation instead of consumption. And each time, you level up, fast. 5. The cognitive benefits of mental clarity. When you desexualize your mind, you notice something strange. Your thinking becomes razor sharp. You can concentrate longer, learn faster, and solve problems more creatively. This isn't just anecdotal. Neuroscience backs it. Dopamine balance and reduced overstimulation leads to better working memory and cognitive control. You're no longer bouncing between impulses. You begin to enter flow states, where time slows down, and you become immersed in your craft, or your purpose. These states are where great art is born, where business breakthroughs happen, where you feel most alive. More importantly, clarity gives you peace. Not because life gets easier, but because your inner world becomes organized. You stop chasing the next pleasure and instead start building the next version of yourself. 6. Discipline is freedom, and it's rare. Discipline might not feel sexy, but it is magnetic. Why? Because it's rare. Most people are trapped in cycles of overindulgence. The disciplined man or woman stands out, not by trying to impress, but by simply radiating presence and control. When you desexualize your mind, you begin to respect yourself. You keep your word to yourself. You set goals and follow through. You start seeing your time and energy as sacred. And when you value your energy, others do too. This isn't about being cold or distant. In fact, people often feel more connected to those who have clarity and restraint. Why? Because they're not being subconsciously manipulated or objectified. They feel seen. Because you've trained your mind to look beyond appearances. 7. The path to higher purpose. At the core of every human being is a desire for meaning. Beyond pleasure, beyond survival, beyond even success, what we truly crave is purpose. The problem is, in a world filled with constant stimulation and distraction, that purpose often gets buried under layers of noise. When your mind is constantly being pulled towards sexual desire or fantasy, there's very little room left for clarity, and even less for transcendence. You see, purpose requires stillness. It requires focus. It demands that you listen closely to the quiet voice inside that's asking, "Why am I really here?" But that voice can't be heard if your mind is flooded with cravings or constantly chasing gratification. When Carl Jung spoke of desexualizing the mind, he wasn't just talking about mental hygiene, he was pointing us towards something sacred, the unlocking of your higher self. Your higher self is not obsessed with shallow pleasure. It doesn't care about likes, lust, or momentary highs. It wants alignment, it wants service, it wants legacy. And the truth is, once you begin freeing your mind from lower-level desires, your awareness rises. You start seeing opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You recognize synchronicities, deeper connections, a greater calling. And that's where the real transformation begins. This path to higher purpose isn't reserved for saints or sages. It's available to anyone who's willing to do the hard work of mastering themselves. Anyone who's willing to shift from consuming life to creating life. From being ruled by urges to being guided by vision. When you desexualize your mind, you don't lose anything meaningful. You gain everything that truly matters: clarity, depth, inner strength, and a mission worth waking up for. So the question becomes, what are you here to build? Who are you meant to become? And are you willing to trade momentary pleasure for permanent power? Final words to the viewer. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you is ready to wake up. Maybe you're tired of the distractions, the cycles, the numbness. Maybe you're finally ready to rise. Carl Jung's words are more than a quote, they're a key. And if you're bold enough to turn that key, a new life is waiting. Desexualize your mind, reclaim your energy, and watch your life transform. If this spoke to you, subscribe for more content like this. Drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts or experiences. This channel is about truth, transformation, and rising above the noise. And I'm glad you're here.